Welcome everyone to the smart world around us. This is our 51st discussion from Smart-EDU Hub. Today we're diving into a really important topic, transparency in public administration. We're going to dig into this fantastic article by Cătălin Vrabie and Andreea-Maria Tîrziu that takes a close look at the situation in Romania. It asks a really simple but powerful question. When governments set up a website, does that automatically mean they're more open? We'll get into it. And hey, if you want to read the full study for yourself, the link is right down there in the description.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a little thought experiment for you. Right now, how easy would it be for you to find your local town's budget online? Seriously, think about it. Could you find it in, like, 2 clicks? Or would you be diving down a rabbit hole, clicking link after link on some kind of digital treasure hunt with no map?
In this day and age, we kind of expect everything to be instantly available online, right? That's the big promise of what we call e-government, this idea of a more open, more accessible public administration. But, and this is a big but, as this study from Romania shows us, there's often this massive gap between what's promised and what's actually delivered.
So let's set the scene. We're focusing on Romania, where internet use has just exploded. And I don't mean it went up a little bit. We're talking about a fundamental shift in society. Suddenly, you have millions more people online, and they've got new expectations. They expect to be able to deal with their government through a screen.
And here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just that more people are online. It's about what they're doing. Look at this. The data shows this really key change in how people behave online with their government. Sure, just passively looking for info went down a little, but check out the jump in people actively filling out forms and firing off emails to public authorities. People aren't just browsing anymore. They're trying to get things done. So, what this all points to is a major evolution, right? Citizens have gone from being passive readers of information to active participants. They want to interact, they want to engage, and yeah, they want to hold their government accountable online. And this change is exactly why the researchers decided to do what they call a digital radiograph. The mission here was pretty straightforward, but wow, was it thorough. They decided to perform this radiograph, basically a deep scan on the official website of every single one of Romania's 103 municipalities. The idea was to look beyond the slick homepages and fancy logos and find out what are they actually sharing with the public.
All right, so after all that digging, what did this big digital checkup find? When they lifted the hood on all these government websites, what did the report card look like? Let's get into the results.
Okay. So at first glance, things look pretty good. A whopping 93.2% of municipalities actually have an official website. And you think, hey, that's a great start. It looks like almost everyone has at least gotten the memo that they need to be online.
But, and this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Does just having a website mean you're being transparent? I mean, it's one thing to put up a digital front door, but it's a whole other story to actually unlock it and let people see what's inside. So what's really behind that door? Well, as soon as you start looking for the money, the picture changes drastically. Look at this. Over 61% of these websites, that's a clear majority, don't post their basic accounting data. Think about that. The fundamental numbers that show where your tax money is coming from and where it's going, poof, it's just not there.
And it gets worse. When you look for maybe the single most important document for holding a government accountable, the budget, things get really grim. Almost 70% of the municipalities with a website don't post their budget online. The main financial blueprint for the entire town is basically invisible to the people it's supposed to serve.
Okay, so finances are a mess. But what about actually getting involved? What about participation? Well, the study found that only about 13.5% of these websites even let citizens submit petitions online. So, for most people, that digital door for making your voice heard, it's pretty much slammed shut. So let's just step back and look at the whole radiography here. As you can see, it doesn't really matter what you're looking at. Budgets, accounting data, even environmental info. There's this huge, consistent gap. And that really drives home the main point of this whole study. There's a world of difference between just having a website and actually using that website to be transparent.
So, after seeing all this data, what's the bottom line? What's the final verdict on how transparent these municipalities are online? And, maybe more importantly, where do we go from here?
Well, the authors, Cătălin Vrabie and Andreea-Maria Tîrziu, they don't mince words. They're very direct about their conclusion. They say, and I'm quoting here, "We can therefore understand that transparency is not a strength point of the Romanian municipalities." Pretty clear, right? But the point of a study like this isn't just to say, hey, look at this problem. The real power here is in sparking change. The authors make a great point. When you publish these kinds of findings, you create a bit of healthy competition. Suddenly, one town can see how it stacks up against its neighbors on transparency. That creates pressure to do better. And in that kind of competition, guess who wins? The citizens.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. We've all heard that saying, information is power. So if all this crucial public information, like where the money is going, isn't available online for everyone to see, who really holds the power? And on that thought, we'll wrap up today's discussion. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want to dive deeper into all this data, remember the link to the full article is right there in the description below. And hey, if you enjoyed this, please be sure to like and subscribe to the Smart-EDU Hub channel. That way you'll be the first to know when new content drops. Until next time, stay smart with Smart-EDU Hub.